Hi, I'm Lori Sulpizio, and today we're going to talk about self-confidence. Confidence is a belief or a feeling of being certain about something. It's having strong feelings of trust in something or in an outcome. So self-confidence then is believing in yourself. It's being certain and sure of your abilities and your worth, not in an arrogant way, but in a self-reliant way. Self-confidence, or a strong sense of self, is one of the most healthy things you can foster. There's definitely a gender dynamic when it comes to confidence. You might have heard of the confidence gap, something that significantly affects women and girls. It's a real challenge for women leaders, women professionals, young women, women athletes, women performers. I'll do a women-specific confidence video really soon. But it's important that you know confidence is a challenge for men also. And for all of us, lack of confidence can make us feel like an imposter. It fills us with self-doubt, it gets in the way of performance, it gets in the way of creating strong connections with others, and it gets in the way of our happiness. Why is self-confidence so difficult? Well, we now live in a world where we measure ourselves against false ideals of what life is like. Social media is a huge contributor to this. We see other people's posts of the amazing things they have going on, the friends they have surrounding them all the time, the amazing meals they're eating. And then we look at our own life and our own selves, and somehow we feel like we don't measure up. Or we use the likes we get or the friends we have as an indication of our worth. The problem is, social media is such a filtered facade. We aren't getting the real of people's lives. We're getting what they want us to see. Most often, it's not the messy, genuine, challenge-filled life we all live. And then on top of that, we're faced with unrealistic expectations and social standards that put very rigid guidelines on our lives. When we feel like we don't live up to these standards and guidelines, we get filled with tremendous self-doubt. The pressure for perfection, the need to feel like we belong and are loved, all of this makes us second-guess ourselves and threatens our self-confidence. How do you get confidence then? And where does it come from? Well, I'm going to tell you, it comes from one place. Confidence comes from what we tell ourselves. It is nothing more than our inner dialogue and our self-talk. Let me explain this to you. When I ask people where they think confidence comes from, they often say preparation, expertise, talent, being physically attractive, or having an outgoing personality. And yet, think about people who you might know, those people who study endlessly for a test, prepare so well, and then still lack the confidence going into the exam, believing that they're not going to do well. And then think about somebody who doesn't study at all, stays up all night, binge watching Netflix, partying, drinking, and comes into class the next day and they believe they're going to ace the exam with no preparation. So what's the difference here? It's not that preparation gives one confidence. Essentially, the difference between these two is what they're telling themselves. One of them is telling themselves they're not going to do well on the exam, and the other one believes they're going to do great. This happens with athletes and performers all the time. Even when some athletes are so well prepared, they've practiced their skill for hours, they're physically conditioned, they've looked at the other team, they're ready to go, and still they may enter the game or their match not feeling confident. And then you probably know people who have achieved a high level of expertise, incredibly talented, and externally they look like they're doing really well for themselves, but they don't have any self-confidence. This might even be something that you personally face. Because here's the thing, confidence doesn't come from external sources. It's entirely what we tell ourselves. It's our self-talk. So if you tell yourself that you're ready for the exam, if you tell yourself that you know the answers and you're ready to go and you're going to do great, then you enter that exam with confidence. If you tell yourself that you're prepared and ready for the game, that you're in tip-top shape, and that you believe you're going to come out and play well, you're going to enter that game with confidence. If you tell yourself that you're ready for the interview, that you're a great candidate for the job, that the committee's going to love you, you're going to come in with confidence. And here's something that we know. We know that when you have more self-confidence, you're more likely to do better in whatever task you're facing. Research shows that people who come into situations with confidence do better in those situations. This is why stopping the negative thoughts about ourselves is so critical. It's why we really have to understand where our stories about ourselves are coming from so that we can then work to rewrite our own more positive ending. If we enter a situation with confidence, and even if that situation doesn't go exactly how we would have hoped, we can rebound more quickly. People who tell themselves positive things and who believe positive things about themselves are more likely to believe they can do better next time. Here's the great thing about all this. We are responsible for what we say to ourselves, so we can develop the skill of confidence. It is learnable. It's trainable. And there are things that can help this self-talk. Certainly when you are prepared for a task or a project, you're more likely to have positive self-talk going into that task. But there's a few other things that can help too. We're social creatures. This works to our advantage, but it can also work to our disadvantage. Surround yourself with people who see the best in you, people who will reinforce the positive talk that you want in your head. This is especially important with youth and teens. It is so hard for kids to develop a strong sense of self-confidence because kids can be so mean to each other, which results in them hearing such negative things. And if you hear negative things often enough and consistently enough, you can't help but start to believe them. It is so important that kids really hear and receive positive reinforcement and positive feedback so they can then turn those positive ideas into their own self-talk. Here's another thing that can help self-talk: overcoming challenges. When we make mistakes and we bounce back, when we get to fail and then we learn and grow in those moments, we begin to craft a narrative that says we can do it. We can handle hard things. So again, consider children and teens. It's so important for children to experience failure and learn to recover from it, because then they begin an internal dialogue that tells themselves they can get back up when they get knocked down. Confidence comes from that internal conversation. So some people often say to me, okay, Lori, look, I can tell myself all these positive things, but I don't believe them. And it's true. It is one thing just to say these things, and it's another to really deeply believe them to be accurate and true. Okay, but let me tell you a secret. The more frequently you tell yourself positive things, the more likely it is you're going to start believing it. There's a saying that I use called act as if. So tell yourself you're going to go in and do really great in that interview, and then act as if that is true. If you keep doing that time and time again, you're going to wake up and find one day that you're actually not acting. You really do believe that about yourself. So remember, confidence is all about what we say to ourselves. If your internal conversation is a positive one, then you're going to feel more confident. And when you feel more confident, you'll find yourselves doing better in the world, recovering from setbacks quicker in the world, and having deeper and more meaningful connections. Thank you so much for spending your time with me today. I know you have a choice with your time, and I'm really grateful that you would spend it with me. We're going to build ourselves up to live and lead from the best selves that we can be. Until next time, have a great day.